Hey folks, David Stewart here. What I thought I might do today is give you all a little bit of an insight and share with you some of the skills that I've learned this year in one particular area, which is book cover design. And I'm going to show you how I designed the book cover for my latest book, Deep Time Part 1, Prophet of the Godseed, which you can pre-order down below. It comes out next week. You can pre-order it for 99 cents and get in on it. I'm very, very proud of this book, and I've learned a lot developing the cover for this book and my other book, Muramasa Blood Drinker, also linked down below. And I want to share with you some of the skills that I've learned. I did a longer video a little while back where I duplicated a particular best-selling book cover, that is the book cover for Name of the Wind, using Inkscape. And I did the cover design for both of these book covers in Inkscape. And so what I thought I might do is show you all the details that went into me creating this book cover and everything that I did in order to create what I think is a pretty cool looking cover image. I think this is a really useful skill for a lot of you that happen to be authors, especially independent authors, which I know some of you watch my channel. And if you're an artist in like a slightly related field, like if you're a graphic artist, I think there's going to be maybe some skills that if you don't have them yet, they might be useful. And if you have better skills, you can of course educate me in how to do things even better than what I'm doing them. And if you're like in the comic or manga realm, knowing how to set up a really snazzy cover for your style, I think there might be some skills there as well. So let's dig into it. Let me show you. This is my very snazzy book cover for Prophet of the Godseed. It comes out next week on the 21st. You can pre-order it for 99 cents. Links down below. Once again, I'm going to plug it. Looks pretty good, and I like this cover, and I wanted to show you everything about where I started way before I got to this cover and all the little techniques that went into making it. So let me show you where we started here. This is the first idea I came up with, and I know it doesn't look that good, right? First time you do something, you're gonna suck at it, but I was just sort of sketching ideas. I'm like, I had this idea for the book cover for Prophet of the Godseed. I liked this orange, sort of yellow-orange typeface. It reminded me of all the science fiction stuff and fantasy stuff from the 60s and 70s, of which I am a tremendous fan, and I tried to write this book with a little bit of that influence in mind because I'm such a fan of it, especially like the Dune series. And I don't know, yellow letters to me just say like 70s, and I wanted a little bit of that when I first was coming up with that idea. I think when you're coming up with ideas, you want to really chase what your initial vision is and then refine it from there. And then I had Prophet of the Godseed as like a, I guess a subtitle. I wanted a human face because that's something that a lot of book cover designers will talk about as being an important selling point for a book cover now, is that if you have a face, then people relate to it more. Now, upon further investigation, I wanted a mature man's face, because this is a story about a mature man, an older man, is one of the main characters and sort of the main focus of the series. But if you actually go and look at most covers that feature faces, they're featuring young, attractive women. So there's no need necessarily to have an old man's face unless it's going to be very striking. But I happen to like this particular portrait because it's very striking. I used just a really quick gradient blend to sort of cut the edges off, but you can see it's very imperfect. And I blended a NASA Hubble photo with just like a desert picture because it starts on a desert part of a planet. And let me just show you some of the evolutions that this went through. So here's another evolution that this went through, sort of changing some of the images around, changing some of the typeface. I toyed with changing the name. I toyed with where the face would be, how the light blended into the clouds. I kind of liked this, and originally I was just going to call it Godseed because I thought it was simple. Here's the Prophet of the Godseed. I liked the letters kind of crossing over, which I thought was cool. And I continued to refine with some different images, tried out just some different stuff. Got rid of the face because my wife thought the face was creepy, so I thought I'd try it without the face, but this didn't communicate quite what I wanted to, so I put the face back in. Then tried some different, different arrangements of the typeface. Tried putting the face front and center. That was too much for me. Tried having it be transparent. Then I finally started getting towards the design that's much closer to what you will see as the final cover here. So here's the final cover, and now I've started to get like much closer to it at this point. And I've gotten a little better. I tried some different things out, some different images, but eventually I ended up with this sort of arrangement with the eyes and the yellow letters. I decided I was going to go with the yellow letters. Obviously, they don't pop out because I didn't do any effects on the typeface or anything, and I'm using pretty basic fonts, and there's just some other variations. I tried it a couple times with some extra faces. Didn't like the extra faces because I was like, yeah, I need an attractive face, and I'm like, I ended up not liking it. So eventually I crafted this thing. So now let me go ahead and show you the Inkscape, a couple of Inkscape documents that'll demonstrate some of the things I did. Okay, so here's a bit of a demo document. You can see actually all of the elements that are here. So I have a logo over here, Deep Time, that I designed. And this logo design started with a sans serif font. I don't remember which one. I don't think it was Futura. It was a different one, maybe Helvetica, because I liked the M. I got rid of some of the E's, some of the little letters in the E, and replaced them with this long comet-looking shape, which is basically a big giant ellipse with a bunch of gradient effects. And this is actually a little gradient effect too. So let me show you all the stuff that went into making this little logo, because a lot of this you can do to make your own logos, make your own things. So this lens flare effect, that's just a little gradient. Okay, and if I click on it, I can click through each of these nodes, and over here on fill and stroke, if you can see, right here, you have a color you select for that node, and then a transparency. And over here, you can see it's fully transparent. So I have fully transparent, go into this brighter white, and it creates like this little lens flare. When I put it back over the logo, it kind of just blurs that thing and makes it seem like it's shining through the M. Very, very cool. This likewise is the same thing. It's just an ellipse with a very complex gradient. So if you look at that, you see there's a bunch of different points in that ellipse. Likewise, you can actually see that the word time is not letters. It's not this text tool that I usually use to do all kinds of stuff. I started with the text tool. I'll just show you how to do this. So we can just write in, deep time, and let's do it all caps. Deep time, okay. And what you do here, I'm going to grab it and make it really big, and I'm going to go path, object to path. And now I can edit the nodes of that path here. Now it's just an object. These are objects that I use the font to create. And if I want to get rid of, the long part of this E, I can just literally delete some of the nodes and kind of maybe just delete that one and fold this one in so it's straight. And there we go. Now we've gotten rid of the middle part of the E. Bam, bam, lickety, blam, blam, blam. We've gotten rid of the E, that part of the E, and we can also manipulate anything that we want here. Like we can make the M look, like some other crazy different sort of letter. So if you really want a very different looking letter, you can start with a typeface, and maybe this looks like, maybe we want it to look like Batman ears or something. You can do whatever you want once you make it a path. You can make the eye look very strange, whatever you want to do. So that's something that you could do to sort of edit the fonts. And I also did this with the main title font as well, and I'll show you some of that. So this is another closer to what I wanted typefacing. I think this is I don't remember what font this is. Actually, it'll probably tell me on the nope, this is an object, never mind, because I moved all the little paths around. So I don't remember what font I used for this. I probably remember when I make the comment, or when I make the video description. But I took that logo, I put it over here, the logo I just showed you, and I just altered the colors of the gradient to match this because the purple was clashing. For this is actually a heavily edited font. I changed a lot of stuff about it. I changed the X height of some of the characters because I thought the X height of like the letter R was too low, so I brought it up. I completely reshaped all of these letters. I extended the E, and one of the ways that I can show you how I extended the E is I just dragged a box to select those nodes, and then you can hold Control and they'll stay in line, and you could just drag them any way you want. Like I can even create this cool like intersection if I wanted to, but I didn't. So that's how I did that. And if I also did the same thing with the S, you can change where these little nodes are to get just a different look to your font. Like if I wanted to go more extreme, I could make the D sort of curve around the O, do something crazier like that. But I thought this looked good. It gave it a lot of detail. The P and the T kind of fit together. It made it more custom. Made it not look like a box font, even though it is basically a box font. I think I paid for this font like a couple of dollars. I don't think it was expensive at all. And I added some little dots into the O's to give them, just give it a different look. I altered the G. But I started with that font because that font kind of spoke to me and said science fiction. And that's sort of the goal of a book cover is to say, what genre is this in? And so a potential reader can see it, know what they're hopefully going to get out of the book from seeing the book cover, clicking on it, reading the description, and of course I'm thinking of like on Amazon or something like that, and then hopefully getting it. Now part 1, that's just a font that's just a font. There's nothing different with that. Let's look at my name, because my name is super important, right? So my name is actually several fonts, and I did I don't know if I did the same thing here or not. So with here, I went to object. I can ungroup the objects. And you can see that this is actually several different objects. This is this character, which is, I think, an upside down V, a W. Both of these are from different fonts. I added the dot to get where I wanted to get with this. And you can see the E's are the same. There's, I think, 3 different fonts in here. I made David Van Dyke, which is my, my first and middle name. I made them all line up on the top here, and I did that by selecting basically, all those things. And you can go to align and distribute. This is extremely helpful, and you can align all of their top angles together. And right there, I aligned it to the top of the page. Don't do that. You want to just align the top edges of all the objects together like that. Okay, actually that aligns it with the bottom of the page. Oh, here we are. You line them all to the top. Okay, so that will definitely help you. Oh, yeah, last selected. So do that. You line them to the top. They're going to stay in a nice straight line, so you have nice symmetry. So that's how I did the typefacing. The typefacing, I think, in a book is really important. You want it to be legible. You want it to speak. You want it to be catchy. Oh, and the coloring. Let me also talk about the coloring. So here I've selected Prophet of the Godseed. If I actually look at the coloring by selecting the gradient node, you'll see it's a gradient of 4 different points. The first point, I go to fill and stroke, and I can see it's this dark orange. This point is a lighter yellow. This point is a much lighter yellow, and this point is a little darker yellow. So it goes dark, light to dark to give it sort of a metallic effect, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to look a bit like a matte piece of gold, and I think it sort of works that way. And you can be more extreme with your gradients and make them look like chrome or like brushed metal or all kinds of things. So gradients are really useful to create a little bit of an effect with the text. Now the text also jumps off the background. I have dark and I have light, which is a problem a lot of times when you're using typefacing. So one of the things that this has with it is it has drop shadows. And if I go to remove filters, you can see it without the drop shadows. That's what it looks like, no drop shadows. And I'm going to put those back on. I think I used 2 different layers of drop shadows, one darker than the other, to give it a more kind of organic effect and to make it stand off this forehead here. So there's a typefacing. Let me go ahead and do this. And I'm going to pull that away for you. Pull this away for you. Pull that away for you. Pull that away for you so you can start seeing the images. Likewise, I'm going to pull that away for you. Now we're seeing the images, and you can see hopefully that it's several composited images. Let me go ahead and show you the stock photos I used. Here's the guy whose eyes I used. Originally, I liked his face because it just spoke to me of the character that I wanted to use, and it's an intense gaze. And I got it off Shutterstock. It's just stock photography, but it hadn't really been used by anyone. That's good. It's always good to do stuff that people haven't used. It's an older man. I like the intensity and the color of his eyes. I like the angle. I like the crease in his forehead. What I ended up using was just the eye part of that. And the way that I did that is maybe I can show you in this. here is him right there. Notice how big that object is. That's because if I go to Object, Mask, Release, there it is. And what I've made is I've made a gradient, white gradient with black on the outside. So I made a rectangle with a gradient, an elliptical gradient, a radial gradient over here, and made white and black. Select both of them and you group those objects together, and that's what you get. And I also added a little bit of transparency, so when I dropped him back down, he would be in the correct place. Okay. Next, let me move him out of the way. There's another layer right here that you may not have noticed. This is just a shape, and it's a rectangle with another linear gradient, just going from clear alpha channel full 0 to gray alpha channel, like 80-ish%, 60-ish%, about 90%. And the reason that I use that is when this is over here, having that dark layer, it makes us obscure like the closer up sand of this picture, and it makes the name pop out a little bit more because I didn't want to use drop shadows on the name. So this way, this looks a little too close up. We're not there's not enough mystery at the front of this image. So we add this, and boom, bada boom. All of a sudden, it looks like it's fading away to darkness. It has a very cool look, and it matches the dark at the top of the page. I did not use a vignette for this image. A lot of people use a vignette to give it a more, realistic object appearance. Next image is this guy walking through the desert, and I did the same thing with this that I did with this. If I go to Object, Mask, Release, you can see that I have a linear gradient pasted on top of an image going from white to black, and the black becomes clear and the white becomes opaque, and that's how I got the fellow walking through the desert, blending into this final background piece, which is a piece of the Hubble Space Telescope. And anytime there's a filter in Inkscape, you can see that there's a little bit of space around the image. If I go to Filters, Remove Filters, it'll show you exactly what it looked like before. Notice it's a little lighter colored. I wanted a little stronger contrast, so I just turned up the contrast on this to make the white and the sort of red and orange elements in this nebula, which is actually, by the way, you don't see nebula the way that we see them on a NASA image. That's actually a composite of several colors that they use to display the nebula. If you're inside a nebula, you wouldn't actually see it because of how spread out it is. We might be in a nebula, actually. I'm not sure about that. So here's all the images. Here's all the elements. And if I just start putting them back on one at a time, you'll see the cover slowly assemble itself into that. And when I export the image, I export it as the page, 1600 by 2400. That's a pretty standard size for a Kindle book cover. But because I use high-res images, I can always go higher. 4500 is probably the biggest size that they want on Amazon right now. So if I wanted to make an even stronger version of this at like 160, what is it going to be? 170 DPI-ish. I can just go to 4500. There we go. Then we get that particular size. So that's how I made this book cover. Hopefully some of that information is useful to you. So I think I got all the big ones. The typefacing, how I combine those, how I altered them to get a unique appearance, the gradients that I used to make the images have make the text have a little bit of an effect, drop shadows that I used, how I masked the images and how I combined them. And as you notice with this gradient masking, the things sort of blend together, and we get this image of like eyes from the heavens looking down on someone in the desert. And that's pretty much exactly what I wanted to convey for this particular cover. And I hope you'll have fun designing your own covers. And remember that it takes a lot of iteration to go from your initial sort of sketch of an idea into something that is actually worth possibly looking at as a real cover. Okay, it takes some repetition of things. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to pre-order my book down below, Prophet of the Godseed. It's 99 cents. If you've ever wanted to support this channel, that is a great way to do it. You could pre-order the book. You can buy my other book, Muramasa Blood Drinker. I'm always super happy when people buy my books and tell me about them. And I got more stuff on the way. Hopefully it'll be good. Hopefully it'll be worth reading. And y'all have a great day.